So, hello everyone. Yes, my name is Anna Skrzydło. I work in Epsilon. I'm Senior Delivery Manager there. And today, yes, I wanted to share with you my thoughts about three main reasons why users aren't using our apps. So let me start with a short story. Imagine that you've built an app, and it's perfect. You are super proud of it because you know that it will save a lot of time of your colleagues. They will make less errors. Their work will be more efficient than it was before the app existed. So you eagerly show this app to your colleagues. They are very interested. You are showing them all the functionalities, and they declare that, yes, they will try this app during their daily work. So after a couple of weeks, you are very curious to check the user stats. And you do. And then you find out that no one even opened the app. Or maybe there is a couple of sessions, but completely not the number that you expected. So if this sounds familiar, if it ever happened to you, or maybe you want to prevent this situation from happening, then I invite you to this talk. I will try to explain what are the main reasons and what is standing behind those reasons, and also what are the tools and techniques that will help you solve this situation and improve your applications. So let's start with the first reason. So we have our user there, and this user says, I don't need this app. Really? Like, it's not for me. What it can mean? So I would say there are two different situations here. First one is when the user is like, it looks useful, but I'm not really sure how I can use it. I mean, where I can use it, like how I can benefit from it. And if this is the case, then very often what you need is, I'm trying to, okay, we have it. What you need is just better communication. So it very often means that maybe you're not using the language of your users. Maybe there are some domain-specific terms that you need to use in your communication so that your users will have this aha moment, like, OK, so this is the process where I can use it, and this is what I can do there. So this situation is, I would say, fairly simple to solve. Another situation is much worse. So this is the case when people don't really have the problem that your app is trying to solve. So this is very serious. It means that you based the app development on some wrong assumptions. So you had an idea of a problem that your user or future users have, and you focused on how to solve that problem, but you have never checked if the problem is correct, if you correctly understand this problem. In this case, most often it's better to stop development of current app and find the real problem and then start the app from scratch. But usually we are not that far away. So usually we are solving part of the problem, but this is not the core of this problem. So let me illustrate how it looks like. So we have a problem. Somewhere in the center, of course, it has its core. So it's this most difficult thing or this most crucial thing that needs to be present in a process in order so that this process is full and complete. And what our app does, and again, I'm trying to click. OK. So what the app does, it covers this part. So it covers the part of the problem. Very often, in this situation, it also covers this part outside of the problem. So these are the functionalities that are there, but our users will actually never use them because they are not helpful for them in this particular situation. But we are not even touching the core of the problem. So what are the tools and techniques and methods that will help you in this situation? And of course, ideally, if you use them before you even start the development, because then you prevent this situation. But still, even if you are there, it already happened, those tools, techniques, they will still help you. So let's start. First, user interviews. So just talking to your users and asking them about their problem, about what they need to achieve, what is the most difficult part there, what they're struggling with most. Important thing here that I want to point out is that you should ask your users about their job, about the current process, not about the future app and the functionalities that they need. Because first of all, if you ask them about the functionalities, you won't get all this information that you need. So you're not increasing your understanding of the problem. And the second thing is that very often, if we ask people directly about functionalities, then we end up with the app that looks like a kind of patchwork. So very different small functionalities that are solving things for different users, but not something that has holistic approach that we can propose when we correctly understand the whole problem that we are solving. Okay, next technique. Okay, because I should point it there. Okay, I get it now. So, personas. So, a description of representative user of a group of users. To create such personas, such descriptions, of course, we should invite business stakeholders, and we can also invite users and just let them speak. What we will get from personas? First of all, we will get focus, because in this description, we will have it directly stated. This is the biggest problem of that persona. And thanks to that, when developing the app, we will focus on this problem and not of all that cool functionalities that are, that we are very satisfied with developing, but they're outside of that real issue that our user have. Another thing that you will get from personas, especially if your app will have different types of users, and you will create personas, and you will find out that, okay, there is a lot of personas. So then what you can do, you can focus on one or two personas and build the app that meets 100% of their needs. And then when you are developing it further, you are adding new features, you are adding new features to satisfy also different personas. And it's usually much better than developing the app that has 20% of needs of 5 groups of personas, of 5 groups of people. So it has something for everyone, but actually nothing really good for anyone. So this is about personas. Now that we have this better understanding of the problem, we understand our personas, the next thing that you can do is prototyping. So you now gathered information, so you have some understanding, and you can visualize it. And you want to visualize it in order, here, to test it. So you can do user tests, and typically what we will do when doing user tests, we will take the app that we already have and ask the users to perform some tasks in the app. But we can do the same with a prototype. And this way, we will be able to validate if what we think would be a good solution to a problem actually is a good solution. And the value of doing user tests on prototypes is that it's generally cheap. And you can iterate very fast on a very many versions and check what actually works best for your users. Okay, so let me move to the second reason. So this is when people are saying, I can't use this app. I'm opening it, I'm trying to do something, I get completely different result than I expect. And what do usually product owners, sometimes development teams say? Let's organize trainings, because if people cannot use it, then we can train them and everything will be fine. So today, I would like to say that it's not exactly the best idea. So of course, there are some apps that still will require training because maybe they have some advanced features and we want to show them to users. But generally, if the basic path that is there in your app is a challenge for your user, for the user that has all the domain knowledge, let's say, required to use the app, then starting with trainings is not the best idea. Let me first explain why it's not the best idea. So people will use only the minimal path that you will show them, because they won't feel comfortable in exploring the rest of the app. So they will use maybe 20% of the app, and the rest, 80%, will be just there. You will need to maintain it, but actually no one will be using it. If you introduce any new functionalities, they will again require training. And they will also make the app even more complex. So if that was already difficult for people to use, with new functionalities, new buttons, new tabs, that will be even more complex. They will require training also, and a new person joining the group of users. So if it's the app dedicated for a team in your company, and a new team member in that team will again require probably extensive training. And very often in such situations, users will try to find workarounds. You know, they will have their own Excel spreadsheets to calculate things, or they will do anything that they can to avoid using this app if they just don't feel comfortable using it. So what's the better solution? If this is the case, if people cannot use your app, then probably you have issues with user experience, and you just need to improve it. The tools for that, user tests again. So user tests, this is the meeting, usually one-on-one, between a person from the development team and a user. The person from the development team has prepared scenario with some business task for the user to perform. The user is using the app, and the person from the development team is observing that. Observing, not talking, not helping the user, observing and feeling the pain. Taking a lot of notes, then having such tests with many, many users, and driving conclusions. So based on that, you will see what are the biggest pain points, where the users struggle most, and you can then think of a better way to present something, or to maybe split into multiple processes, for example, if some of them are too complex. Hallway tests, similar, but you don't have, you don't select a group of people, but you just stay in a hallway and randomly ask any person that come across to perform usually one very small task in your app. This is a good idea if your app will be very widely used in the organization, because then actually everyone should be able to open it and perform some simple tasks that the app is made for. This is a good idea more for such apps than for apps that require very expert domain knowledge, because you can also try. It also will give you some insights, but generally, if the app, which I think for Shiny app very often is the case, and that they require some expert knowledge, then I think user tests will be the way to go. So to ask people that already have that knowledge, because this is the app that is created for them. And last but not least, best practices. So what I often also hear from developers is that, okay, we don't have dedicated user experience designer in our team, so we cannot improve UX. It's not magic. It's a knowledge, and you can read at least a little bit and try to improve. So I put an example here that I particularly like, and I was also testing different apps against those heuristics. So this is even as example, as exercise. You can just take an existing app, go through those heuristics, and just see if they are met. If not, what ideas you have to improve user experience according to those heuristics. Okay, so I think now we are going to the third reason. And the third one is when the user says, I don't trust this app. And here, I would say there are two completely different situations where it can happen. So in the first one, when I was talking that people don't need the app, usually those two situations are connected. So if you don't know the problem, you don't communicate it very well. If you don't communicate it very well, very often that's because you don't understand 100% of the problem. But here, these are two completely different situations. So what can happen here? First one is when people are just afraid of changes. So they have some current process that they follow. Maybe it's manual, maybe it takes a lot of time, but they trust this process. Maybe it's an Excel spreadsheet, and they can check any number there and make sure that this is correct. And they just aren't so eager to test a new app where they just provide input and get output, and they cannot check anything inside. Some people are even afraid that they will break the app. They will take it and break it, and what happens then? So if this is the case, you need to remember that this is completely natural. We, as people, generally don't like changes. I assume everyone, as we are sitting here, we are working with new technologies every day. So we are used to testing new apps, breaking them, reporting bugs, fixing the bugs, and so on. But not everyone in this world does it so often. So that's why in this situation, we just sometimes need to give people more time. In this situation, it's a good idea to organize trainings. So give people occasion to ask all that questions that they have. If possible, that can be even one-on-one sessions, because again, in a bigger group, not everyone is so open to ask questions that they have. But if you are in a one-on-one session, generally people will ask you more and more questions. From my experience, people that were this reluctant to changes at the beginning, once they started feeling confident using the app, they were the biggest supporters of the app. They could easily show it to other people and so on. So this is really good investment to invest time and effort here in training those people and making sure that they feel comfortable with the apps that we are building. But the second situation is much more serious, because this is when there is actually a serious issue with the app. So imagine that the app displays some data and someone makes a decision based on the data, and the data is wrong. It's displayed, but it's incorrect. So because of that, the decision is also incorrect, and someone is held responsible for making this wrong decision. So will that person be very eager to use this app again? Or maybe will they rather try to find this data by any means, but not using this app? So I think you know the answer. In this situation, of course, this is alarming. You need to take care of it. The steps are, I think, very logical, but I would like to point out one thing here. So first, I would recommend to take down the app, or at least the functionality that is broken, if you are 100% sure that it affects only one functionality. This will prevent other people from making wrong decisions based on what they see. Then, of course, let's fix this bug. But the third thing there is most important. So you need to test it, and you need to improve your process. Like, you need to analyze what happened. Why this serious situation, this serious bug got to production. And you need to understand what happened and change your development testing process so that this situation will never happen again in the future. Once you have it, of course, you can relaunch your app. And I would also suggest communicating changes, but not only what changed in the features, so how you fixed this data, let's say, but also how you changed your whole process so that this will never happen again, so you can try to regain trust of your users. Okay, so let's summarize quickly. 3 main reasons why nobody is using our apps are as follows. People don't need the apps. In this situation, you need to check the communication if you are using the language of your users, and you need to check if your app is solving the correct problem. You need to understand the problem and the core of the problem, then adjust the app so that, of course, it solves the core of the user's problem. The second one is that people can't use the app. And then you need to first improve user experience. Don't start with trainings as the first instance here. Try improving user experience. And the third one is when people don't trust our applications, and there are two situations. They're just afraid of changes, so we just need to give them more time. We can organize trainings here, one-on-one sessions if possible. And the second one, if there is a serious issue with our app, then of course we need to fix this issue, and ideally also fix the development process that led to the situation. Sorry. And that's all from me. If you want to contact us, ask any questions, there is an email. You can also find me on LinkedIn. And yeah, I can also, if you need more materials about user tests and things like that, I can also share with you. If you're interested in this topic, you can also join our probably next Shiny Gathering. So Shiny Gathering, this is a virtual meeting where we have either experts presenting one topic or we have panel discussion. And this time it will be panel discussion about user adoption, how to engage users from the day one of the development. Unfortunately, the date is not confirmed yet. It will be either 28th November or somewhere in December. But if you follow Epsilon on social media, or I believe it will be also, there will be notification if you have Shiny Weekly newsletters, subscribe. There will be for sure information about this meeting. So yeah, I also invite you to join that one. And that's all from me. Thank you.